All right, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to note a few things before I get to my closing statement. To note that regret is not the basis for any personal action. Medical malpractice must be proved, as was discussed. Were they misled? Was there a lack of informed consent? Was it sloppy surgery? So I would ask the opposition why they would want to encourage misleading, circumventing consent, or violating best practices. We're in a brave new world where we are literally experimenting on youth who can't give consent to unknown outcomes. So, Madam Chair, members of the committee, 1128 is not anti-trans, it is anti-charlatan. It is anti-bad actor. So let me close by returning to what this bill actually does. HB 26-1128 does not prohibit gender-affirming care. It does not prevent doctors from providing care. It does not prevent anyone from seeking care. Nothing in this bill restricts a person's ability to transition, and nothing in it stigmatizes those who pursue that care. This bill simply recognizes that youth, defined in Colorado statutes in many contexts as those 25 and younger, deserve special consideration when medical decisions carry lifelong consequences. Procedures that permanently alter reproductive systems, endocrine function, and long-term physiology often take many years for their full implications to become clear. The extended statute of limitations reflects that reality. It ensures that individuals have adequate time to understand those consequences before deciding whether negligence occurred. Some testimony today expressed concern about allowing claims until age 38. But I found it notable that while there was concern about the time frame for accountability, there was very little concern expressed for those who may live with the consequences for the rest of their lives. The consequences of misinformation, the consequences of circumventing consent, and the consequences of poorly performed surgeries. If someone is harmed through negligent care in this area, the effects are not temporary. They can involve lifelong hormonal dependence, permanent infertility, surgical complications, and profound physical and physiological consequences. For some individuals, those outcomes may also affect overall health and longevity. The law cannot undo those harms. At best, liability can only address them imperfectly and monetarily. The injury itself remains. That is precisely why accountability matters. And importantly, for the many families and physicians who approach these decisions carefully and thoughtfully, this bill would have no effect whatsoever. If the evaluation is thorough, if risks are fully disclosed, and if the patient ultimately lives a healthy and satisfied life, the statute of limitations is never invoked. Because again, regret is not the basis of this action. It is malpractice. This bill exists only for the small number of cases where negligence may have occurred, where someone later believes that they were rushed, misdiagnosed, or inadequately informed. Some have argued that those cases are rare, and even if that is true, our justice system has never been built on the idea that justice only matters where harm is widespread. Justice exists so that even a small number of people who were harmed through negligence can still be heard. Accountability through liability is the standard mechanism medicine uses to maintain high standards of care. It encourages careful evaluation, full informed consent, and responsible clinical judgment, especially in fields involving irreversible interventions. And I want to emphasize again something we saw today. No medical doctor testified that this bill would prevent them from practicing. In fact, the medical doctors that testified today were in favor of the longer and more appropriate statute of limitations to make sure that patients weren't harmed, to make sure that the individual received the utmost care instead of being rushed through, misled, or have their consent bypassed. No medical doctor testified that this bill would prevent them from practicing medicine. That is because it does not restrict care. It simply reinforces the expectation that when medicine undertakes life-altering procedures on young people, the standard of care must be exceptionally careful. Responsible providers who are dotting the I's and crossing the T's will not be affected. But those who have been harmed while still young and developing will at least have the opportunity to seek accountability. This is not political. That is fairness, responsibility, and the basic promise of justice. So today you have the opportunity to encourage healthy outcomes by voting for House Bill 1128, or you can vote for misleading, circumventing consent, and sloppy procedures resulting in lifelong harm by voting against. For those reasons, I respectfully ask for a yes vote on House Bill 26-1128.